everybody. This is Carol Maletta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust.
Hey, I'm not one of your little friends. Did you ever have a parent say that to you when you were growing up? Well, I can tell you, it's a common statement in the Black community. It might come out if a parent perceives a child as being disrespectful toward them or getting a little too comfortable with behavior that they know the parent doesn't like. That statement, "I'm not one of your little friends," is intended to let them know, hey, I'm different from those other folks you interact with. I play a different role. I'm in charge, and I don't play that. My mother never said that, but she absolutely lived that. And now I hear from some parents who say, oh, that's a horrible approach to take, that your child will think you're not on their side or that they can't count on you. I submit to you that you can certainly build a friendly connection with your child, be kind to your child, and be respectful to your child, and you absolutely should. But if you see being a friend as always agreeing, striving at all costs to keep the peace and make sure your child has no discomfort, no inconveniences, or any challenges that will upset them, that can cause big problems in your house and in your relationship with your child now and later. Agreement just for the sake of agreement is not the goal. In fact, I tell parents that I work with, if you and your child agree on everything, someone's not acting their age, and it's you. Here's what I want you to do instead. Put more energy into being a parent and not a pal in your child's formative years. If you don't, you will have let them down as a parent. They will know it and will hardly think of you as anything close to a friend as an adult. So what does it really mean? Why do I feel like it's so important? And how does it play out in your real everyday life as a nurturer, a caregiver, a trainer, and ultimately a coach for your children? Why don't we dive in? So first, let me tell you, there was a time when I really felt the weight of this concept of being the parent and not trying to be the friend. My son was in 8th grade and his teacher had assigned a research paper for the students. She had mapped out the process with them and built in some checkpoints along the way. And after a couple of weeks and a couple of missed checkpoints, she advised me that he was not making the progress that he needed to make. I told her, listen, I will speak to him about it and see where his head is, but I'm not going to step in and rescue him. And I had seen that happen a few times among his classmates. So I just wanted to let her know that that's not how I operated with my child. And, for good reason. I felt like he was about to enter high school, and it was time that he made friends with research papers. I should also point out that this was a challenging moment for me, too, because it was a critical year. He was applying for admission to private as well as public high school programs, and there was a lot at stake. So I asked him if he understood what was expected of him and if he had the tools he needed to get the work done. He said he had it under control. Well, in the end, it was not his best work, but he learned about the process of writing a paper, including how to do the research and cite his sources and formulate and support his thesis and ultimately how to manage his time to meet the deadline. He learned all of that in a way that I don't think he ever forgot, and in a way that he wouldn't have if I had swooped in and took control of the project. Being a parent is often about choosing what's best over what is easy. Now, as parents, our primary job is to guide, not to be popular. Kids need boundaries. They need honest feedback. They need to be held accountable. They need wisdom from us. And, you're best positioned to give them that, not their best friends, though we love them. We all want a close relationship with our children, But our most important job is preparing them for adulthood, which means making those calls that are tough sometimes.
We'll be right back after this. Worried about that summer slide, that loss of learning kids can experience over summer break? I get it. When my boys were in elementary school, I discovered Summer Bridge Books by Carson De La Rosa Education. Before we hit the beach or the water slide, we hit the books. For just a few minutes a day, these engaging, fun workbooks can help your child keep their skills sharp and their confidence high all summer long. Don't let their hard-earned progress slip away this summer. Make sure they start off on the right foot for next school year. From preschool to high school, Summer Bridge is a strong solution. Click the link below in the show notes and help your child bridge the gap this summer with Summer Bridge Books by Carson De La Rosa Education. And we're back with the Parenting 411.
So I want to share 3 important lessons I learned as a parent as well as a parent educator. First, a pleasant relationship with your child comes through respect and love, but not permissiveness or overindulgence. A friendly relationship with your kids isn't about letting them get away with things. It's about mutual respect. When you act as a parent first and make the tough and sometimes unpopular decisions, respect will come, often in hindsight. Studies suggest that children value, in the long run, the adults who provided meaningful guidance to them at key moments in their lives. Next, boundaries create security. Kids crave consistency. They want to know what to expect and what's expected of them. Researchers have shown that children who understand their limits feel safer. They know what's expected and what the consequences will be when they step over the line. Setting and sticking to boundaries sends the message, I love you enough to follow through, even when you don't like it. Next, modeling grown-up behavior for our children is critical. How we approach discipline, conflict, or disappointment in our own lives teaches our kids about adulthood, or adulting, as they say. When we demonstrate responsibility, delayed gratification, and self-control, our children start to adopt those skills themselves. We're showing them every day. This is not just how a parent acts. This is how an adult functions in the real world. A study by the American Academy of Pediatrics found that children with clearly defined rules at home have better emotional regulation and higher self-esteem. And to finish with my personal example, years later, when my son was in college, I talked to him, asked him how his week was going, how things were looking, and he'd casually tell me he had 2 papers due at the end of the week. What felt like a major hurdle heading into high school felt like a manageable task now because he had to dig in to complete that research project back then on his own without me rescuing him. Maybe a friend would have done that, but he really needed a parent in that moment. So here's my challenge. This week, I invite you to pick one area where you might be tempted to be your child's friend, and instead you choose to be their parent. Set a boundary, enforce a rule, or have a difficult conversation with them, even if it's hard for both of you. Remember, you're building the foundation for their future. And throughout all of this, I want you to remember that saying no can be an act of love. Enforcing rules is a parental hug that lasts into adulthood. And yes, kids may get mad in the moment, but being a parent, not a pal, is the greatest gift you can give them. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode made you think, or you've got some parenting wins or struggles in any area that you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. Join us over in the Parenting 411 community on Facebook. We'd love to have you. And until next time, keep guiding, keep loving, and keep parenting proud, because it's never too late to be the parent you want to be. Talk to you next time.
We bring you this episode for the purpose of information and entertainment only. It is not the intent or purpose of the Parenting 411 podcast or Carol Maletta to provide an exhaustive reference or guide on all aspects of parenting, childcare, and family life. You are strongly encouraged to read all available information, consult medical or other appropriate professionals, and pursue all reasonable means to learn as much as possible about parenting to complement what you gain here, and then tailor the information to meet your individual needs. Yes, parenting is a serious matter, though it is not an exact science. The context and insights offered in this and every episode represent an account of knowledge and personal experiences of the host and any featured guests for the viewers' and listeners' information and consideration. The host and guests do not guarantee to our viewers or listeners any specific parenting outcomes from this episode or taking actions described here.